Under the endless stretch of stars, the colony on Kepler 94 lived quietly, tucked away on the edge of known space where few dared to venture. The people there had built a peaceful home, far from the wars and politics of the galactic councils. Central worlds. They farmed strange crops beneath artificial domes, mined rare minerals, and sent messages back to Earth, speaking softly of their simple lives. To the galaxy beyond, humanity seemed harmless, a curious but unthreatening species more interested in survival than conquest. This belief settled like a comfortable truth among alien powers who watched from afar, certain that humans would never raise a weapon in anger. But deep beneath the calm surface of Kepler 94, tensions simmered. For years, scattered reports of Zarnak raids in nearby systems had gone unanswered, and rumors whispered of ships slipping through patrols, striking without mercy. The colony's leaders spoke cautiously, calling for peace and patience, but the settlers knew the danger was closer than anyone admitted. Then, one night, as twin moons hung low and the colony's lights blinked like fireflies in the darkness, the silence shattered. Explosions ripped through the air, alarms blared, and the ground trembled beneath heavy footsteps of invaders. The Zarnak had come, swift, brutal, and without warning. Their ships descended like shadows, cutting through the protective shields, with terrifying ease, tearing apart homes and dragging people from the wreckage. Panic swept through the colony as families fled or hid, desperate to escape the ruthless attackers. Amid the chaos, a small group of survivors gathered in the remains of the council hall, eyes wide with shock and fear. They were too few, too unarmed and too unprepared to fight back, but their spirits refused to break. Among them was Mara, a young engineer whose quiet strength inspired hope. She knew the colony's defenses had been built for peace, not war. But she also understood something others didn't. Humanity was not as weak as the galaxy believed. Far beyond Kepler 94, hidden in the shadows of an ancient space station orbiting a dying star, the Warship of Vengeance lay silent but ready. It was a secret kept from all but a select few, a ship unlike any other, designed by human hands with a fierce purpose: to protect, to fight, and to avenge. As Mara and the survivors faced the horror around them, a signal pulsed through the dark, an encrypted message that sparked hope and fear in equal measure. It was a call to arms, a promise that the silent human race would no longer suffer in silence. Somewhere out there, Captain Elena Rain prepared to wake Nemesis from its slumber, to bring fury and justice to those who had dared to believe humanity would stay silent forever. The night on Kepler 94 grew colder, and the stars watched silently as a new chapter in the galaxy's history began, one written in fire and blood, where humanity would rise not as victims, but as warriors. Far beyond the peaceful worlds and shimmering stars, where space itself seemed cold and empty, a massive ship lay hidden in the shadow of a dying star, wrapped in silence and mystery. This was Nemesis, the Warship of Vengeance, built in secret by humanity when they realized the galaxy would never take them seriously as long as they stayed quiet and weak. For years, the ship remained dormant, its powerful engines cold, its weapons locked away, and its crew waiting for the moment to awaken. Now that moment had come. Deep inside the shipyard, orbiting the fading sun, the hum of machinery filled the air as engineers hurried to prepare Nemesis for its first mission. Captain Elena Rain stood on the bridge, her sharp eyes scanning the control panels that glowed with faint blue light. She was a soldier, born from Earth's toughest battles, a woman shaped by loss and fierce determination. When the news of the Zarnak attack reached Earth, she knew the galaxy was about to change forever. Nemesis was no ordinary warship. It was built with technology scavenged from human history and alien designs, armed with weapons that could tear apart enemy fleets, and shields stronger than anything the Confederation had seen. The ship was alive in its own way, with a core intelligence that could learn, adapt, and think faster than any pilot. As the countdown began, tension gripped the crew. None of them had faced real combat yet, but all were ready to prove that humanity was not the weak species the galaxy believed them to be. The engines roared to life, shaking the station as Nemesis broke free from its hangar bay. Outside, the stars' dying light glinted off the ship's sleek armor, making it look like a dark arrow ready to fly. With a sudden burst of speed, Nemesis jumped into the void, heading straight for the Zarnak raiders who had dared to attack human colonies. On board, the crew moved with precision and urgency. Eleanor's voice was calm but firm as she gave orders, guiding her people through the final preparations. Engineers monitored weapons systems, navigators plotted courses through dangerous asteroid fields, and communications officers kept constant watch for enemy signals. Every second counted. As they traveled deeper into enemy territory, tension grew thicker like a storm ready to break. The crew knew they were heading into the heart of danger, but their minds were steady, fueled by the desire for justice and revenge. No longer would humanity hide behind diplomacy and silence. They were the storm now. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected movement. Small scout ships sent to spy and warn the Zarnak of Nemesis' approach. The crew held their breath as the warship prepared to strike. With expert precision, the ship's advanced weaponry disabled. The scouts, without warning, sending a clear message. The humans had arrived, and they were prepared to fight. Elena watched the battle unfold on the view screen, feeling a mix of pride and fierce determination. Every system on Nemesis worked in perfect harmony, a symphony of destruction ready to protect humanity's honor. The warship's true power had been hidden for too long, but now it was time for the galaxy to wake up. As Nemesis pressed onward, it was no longer a secret. It was a warning. The humans, who had once been silent victims, were now hunters, and their vengeance would be swift, brutal, and unstoppable. The stars around them seemed to pulse with the energy of impending conflict as the warship of vengeance began its deadly dance through space, ready to rewrite history and show the galaxy what it truly meant to face humanity's wrath. The dark emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Nemesis as it glided silently through the cold void, the distant stars offering no comfort, only silent witnesses to the storm about to erupt. Captain Elena Rain stood at the command center, her gaze fixed on the swirling blips and signals that filled the ship's advanced sensor array. The Zarnak Confederation had established a stronghold in a hidden cluster of asteroids, using the natural cover to build a fortress for their raider fleets. This base was the heart of the terror that had torn apart the colony on Kepler 94, the source of the endless raids and suffering. Now, Nemesis was closing in, ready to strike where it hurt the most. The crew moved with sharp focus, each member a vital part of the machine. Communications officers tracked enemy chatter, decoding encrypted messages that revealed the raiders were unaware of the approaching threat. Engineers ran final checks on the ship's weapons systems, their hands steady despite the weight of what was to come. The tension aboard Nemesis was thick, but the crew's spirit burned bright, fueled by the pain of lost homes and the fierce hope for justice. As the ship neared the asteroid cluster, the silence shattered. Suddenly, enemy ships surged from hidden bays, swift, armed, and hungry for battle. The Zarnak fighters moved quickly, but Nemesis was faster, its advanced AI predicting their moves with terrifying accuracy. The first blasts of plasma fire lit up the darkness, carving paths of destruction through the raider fleet. Elena's voice cut through the chaos, calm but commanding, guiding her crew with the precision of a master tactician. She ordered the warship to weave between the asteroids, using the natural obstacles as shields and traps. The battle became a deadly dance of light and shadow, with Nemesis exploiting every weakness in the enemy's formation. Despite being outnumbered, the humans fought with a determination that surprised even the most hardened veterans aboard the ship. Each victory was small but significant, a message that humanity would not bow to terror. Deep inside the asteroid fortress, alarms blared as the Zarnak commanders realized the threat was real and deadly. Panic rippled through their ranks as Nemesis tore through their defenses, disabling weapons platforms and cutting power lines with surgical strikes. The warship's crew worked as one, their unity forged through training and shared purpose. Mara, the engineer from Kepler 94 who had survived the raid, was on board, her hands steady as she rerouted power and repaired damage sustained in battle. Her presence was a reminder of what they fought for, those who had suffered and waited silently for vengeance. As the battle raged on, Nemesis unleashed its secret weapon, a pulse cannon that sent a wave of energy crashing into the heart of the raider base, disabling their command systems and leaving them vulnerable. The Zarnak fleet faltered, confusion spreading as their ships lost coordination. With a final push, Nemesis pressed forward, rescuing the captives held in underground cells, their eyes wide with disbelief and hope. The warship's victory was not just a triumph of firepower, but a statement to the galaxy. Humanity would no longer hide in the shadows. The aftermath left the asteroid field scarred, silent except for the hum of Nemesis as it regrouped. Captain Rain surveyed the scene with cautious pride, knowing this was only the beginning. The Zarnak Confederation would not take this defeat lightly. As the rescued prisoners looked toward their saviors, the warship's crew prepared for what lay ahead, a galaxy on the brink of change, with humanity rising as a force that would no longer be ignored or underestimated. The news of Nemesis's daring strike against the Zarnak raider base rippled through the galaxy like a sudden shockwave, shaking long-held beliefs and forcing distant worlds to reconsider what they thought they knew about humanity. For years, many alien civilizations had treated humans as a minor, quiet race, one unlikely to challenge the powerful factions that controlled space. Now, that illusion was shattered. Across crowded spaceports, high towers, and council chambers, leaders and citizens alike whispered in disbelief. On some worlds, fear grew as they realized that humans might be far more dangerous than anyone expected. The Galactic Council, a vast assembly that governed many star systems, convened an emergency session to address the rising human threat. Ambassadors from countless species debated fiercely, their voices rising and falling in heated arguments. Some urged diplomacy, hoping to avoid a larger conflict. Others, especially those with ties to the Zarnak Confederation, demanded swift action to crush humanity before it grew stronger. Meanwhile, back on Nemesis, Captain Eleanor Rain and her crew felt the weight of this newfound attention. Their victory had brought them fame, but also made them targets. They worked tirelessly to repair the ship and prepare for what was sure to come, a retaliation from the Zarnak and possibly attacks from other alien factions, uneasy with humanity's rise. Mara, still shaken from her escape but now a vital part of the crew, often found herself staring at the stars beyond the ship's windows, wondering how many more battles lay ahead. Despite the pressure, the crew's resolve never wavered. They had tasted victory and would not back down. Word spread quickly to other human colonies scattered across space. News of rescue and retribution inspired hope where fear had once ruled. Many began to send their own calls for help, ready to join the fight for survival and respect. Among the alien worlds, some saw opportunity. Several smaller factions, long ignored or oppressed by the Galactic Council's dominant powers, cautiously reached out to humanity, considering alliances based on shared interests. These new partnerships were fragile, born from mutual distrust, but strengthened by the fear of the Zarnak and the recognition of humanity's determination. Yet, not all were willing to listen. The Zarnak Confederation, wounded but unbroken, gathered its remaining fleets and resources with fury burning in their leaders' eyes. They vowed to reclaim lost honor and crush the human threat once and for all. Their counterstrike would be devastating, and the galaxy braced itself for the storm. Back on Nemesis, Elena oversaw upgrades and training, preparing her crew for the coming war. Every system was tested, every weapon calibrated, and every strategy sharpened. She knew the battles ahead would be more brutal and uncertain than anything they had faced. In quiet moments, she pondered the future of humanity in this vast and dangerous galaxy. The warship was more than a vessel of destruction. It was a symbol of a race unwilling to be silent, a beacon that told the universe humans were here to stay and fight. The days grew tense as reports arrived of Zarnak movements and uneasy alliances forming across star systems. Each message raised the stakes, reminding Nemesis's crew that the fight for humanity's place among the stars was only beginning. It's at the shadows of political intrigue and military build-up, a new chapter of galactic history was unfolding, where survival depended not just on strength, but on courage, unity, and the fierce will of a species that refused to be forgotten. As the stars blinked cold and distant, Nemesis prepared to lead humanity into the reckoning that would decide the fate of all who dared to challenge the silence. The cold void near Draxus 9 was alive with tension as the massive Zarnak fleet emerged. From the shadows of the asteroid belt, their ships glinting ominously under distant starlight, signaling a force ready to crush humanity's bold defiance once and for all. Captain Elena Rain stood firm on the bridge of Nemesis, her eyes locked on the tactical displays, flashing warnings and enemy movements with relentless speed. She could feel the weight of the countless lives depending on this battle, the hope of every human colony resting on their shoulders. The Zarnak were numerous, their ships far outnumbering the warship, but Nemesis was faster, smarter, and armed with weapons that had never before been tested in the fury of war. As the first salvos exploded in space, bright flashes illuminated the darkness, and the battle began with a roar that shook the very fabric of the void. Nemesis moved like a ghost, weaving expertly between the jagged asteroids, using the environment as both shield and weapon, forcing the Zarnak fleet into narrow passages where their numbers became a disadvantage. Captain Rain's commands were sharp, her voice calm but filled with fire, guiding her crew through the deadly dance of lasers, plasma bursts, and missile barrages. Every system on the ship worked in perfect harmony. The engines pulsed with power, shields glowed defiantly, and weapons fired with precise fury. Despite their courage, the crew knew this fight would be costly. Explosions rocked Nemesis as enemy fire found gaps in the armor, testing their defenses and resolve. Mara, the engineer who had once survived the brutal raid on Kepler 94, rushed through damaged corridors, her hands steady as she repaired critical systems under pressure. Outside, the warship's advanced sensors detected the arrival of enemy reinforcements, massive cruisers designed to crush anything in their path. The Zarnak commanders were determined to overwhelm Nemesis, sending wave after wave of fighters to swarm the warship in relentless attacks. But the human crew fought back with relentless determination. Utilizing tactics from Earth's ancient battles, including guerrilla tactics and unpredictable maneuvers, Nemesis shattered enemy formations, leaving wreckage drifting silently in the darkness. The ship's secret weapon, the pulse cannon, charged steadily and unleashed devastating blasts that tore through enemy shields and hulls alike. As the hours stretched on, the battle became a test of endurance and willpower. Communications buzzed, with warnings of critical damage, but the crew refused to yield. Captain Rain's mind raced with strategies, always staying one step ahead of the enemy, turning desperation into opportunity. At a crucial moment, Nemesis executed a daring feint, drawing the largest Zarnak cruiser into a trap near a cluster of unstable asteroids. With precise timing, the warship fired its pulse cannon again, triggering a cascade of explosions that shattered the cruiser and sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet. The victory was not just physical, but psychological. The Zarnak's confidence wavered as their forces faltered under the unexpected ferocity of humanity's wrath. As the battle reached its climax, Nemesis seized control of the asteroid belt, forcing the remaining enemy ships to retreat in disarray. The warship was battered but victorious, a symbol of human resilience and power that echoed across the stars. Captain Elena Rain surveyed the aftermath with a mix of exhaustion and pride, knowing the fight was far from over, but that this battle had changed the course of history. The Siege of Vengeance was a harsh reminder to the galaxy that humanity would no longer be silenced, that they were fierce defenders of their right to exist and thrive. And as the stars once again shone calmly above, Nemesis prepared for the challenges ahead, carrying with it the hopes of a species determined to rise and claim its place among the stars. The battle scars on Nemesis' hull glistened faintly under the distant light of a new sun rising over the horizon of a once-forgotten system, a symbol of a fresh beginning for humanity in the vastness of space. After the brutal Siege of Vengeance and the fierce battles that had followed, the warship and its crew found themselves at the edge of a fragile peace, their mission transforming from survival to leadership. Captain Elena Rain stood on the bridge, her eyes reflecting the glow of distant stars and the weight of countless lives now looking to her and humanity for hope. The galaxy was no longer the silent void where humans hid in the shadows. It was a place where their presence demanded respect and careful consideration. Reports from the Galactic Council trickled in, bearing news of tentative alliances forming between humans and several alien factions who had once doubted their strength. The tide was turning. Across newly established human colonies, people began to rebuild not just homes, but futures, their spirits lifted by stories of courage and defiance that Nemesis had carried through the void. Mara, once a terrified survivor, now worked alongside engineers and diplomats, helping to design new ships and systems that would protect humanity's growing reach. But the challenges remained as sharp as ever. Though the Zarnak had been weakened, they still lurked in the dark edges of space, plotting revenge and waiting for their chance to strike back. Captain Rain knew the peace was fragile. Any mistake could ignite a new war. The crew of Nemesis trained harder than ever, balancing their roles as warriors and ambassadors, ready to defend their species, but also to extend hands toward potential allies. With every new system contacted, with every diplomatic meeting held, humanity stepped further into a new role as both protectors and pioneers of a future built on strength and unity. A sense of suspense lingered in the air. No one knew what the next challenge might be, or which corner of the galaxy would call for their resolve. Yet amid uncertainty, there was hope, a fierce, unyielding hope born from fire and struggle. Humanity was no longer the quiet race others overlooked. They were a rising force, ready to carve their destiny among the stars. As Nemesis prepared to set course for its next mission, its crew felt the weight of history on their shoulders and the bright promise of dawn ahead. Captain Elena Rain, standing tall amidst the hum of the warship, whispered to herself and to all who would listen, the galaxy had heard humanity's voice at last, and this was only the beginning.